Welcome to the Hub Podcast. I'm your host, Cheney Passer. With me is... I don't have one today. I'm lazy schmazy
I
today.
can choose one. I am...
Dead air, dead air.
Coffee Courtney. I'm Coffee Courtney.
There you go. Yeah, a little bit earlier. We're all over the place with these.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're at 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes they're at
Yeah.
7
That
a.m.
is the beauty of being able to schedule your own content, though. So you can do it whenever
Yep.
you want.
Do you have anything fun to say?
Do I have anything fun to say? No.
Any new things? What's new with you? What's new with you? Even though I see you every single day.
Here's what I'm experiencing lately. No, I feel like one thing maybe to talk about is we've been on a little bit more of a lifting heavy phase for the past like week and a half maybe now.
Yeah.
And I was sharing with you today that like it's just crazy how when you have built up this base and the base is so solid of like consistently working out and having that be just a part of your life, that when you do adapt or change up your program, that your body adapts so quickly. And like I can already tell with even in a week and a half, like my body is tighter, it's a little bit more compact. I'm noticing muscles getting a little bit more full. So I just think that's cool that I'll probably maybe share more than you will of progressions with workouts and stuff, but just that, yeah, I love how easy it can be when you've put in the work to build the base.
I think a large part of it too is just awareness. Like I think people working out they're not really aware, or they're not kind of paying attention to what's going on. They're just kind of going day to day, to where I think there's a large part where it's just like when you've practiced being aware and paying attention to what's going on, like you notice changes really quickly. You notice that your body feels tighter. You notice that, you maybe have more energy throughout the day, or that's something that I always like try to get my clients to think about or to pay attention to, is like when you start to get back into the groove of things, like pay attention to your energy levels throughout the day, or pay attention to your, like really focus on what's going on with your body. Like, have you noticed that your clothes are fitting tighter, or just that your body feels tighter? And I think a lot of it's just an awareness thing, because people will come in and be like, I just don't feel like anything's working or anything's changing. And we kind of go through some of these things. Are like, yeah, I guess I do have more energy. I guess my mood is better.
Mm-hmm.
I am sleeping better. I do feel tighter. So I think a big part is just be aware.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like we've also been doing more mobility and recovery stuff this time around, which has been cool to see, like us actually fitting it in and making it a part of the program, and doing yoga more and all of those like side things, but they're there to assist for a reason, and they can definitely benefit. Which, speaking of that, our whole hub mobility program is on our YouTube now, so go check that out. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling lately.
The mobility and the stretching stuff, for me at least, has always been kind of the get to it if I can.
Right.
To where I'm trying to make it more of like, no, this is a part of the program. It's not a like, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Those are kind of my not super consistent things, is the mobility and the stretching. I'll always go in and lift the weights, and I'll always, do that, but it's the mobility stretching that I slack on, to where this time around, I think, we've made it definitely more of a priority, and like you have to do this, the mobility before the workout, and then the stretching afterwards. And even just like our off days are not just like off days. We're doing yoga and stretching and that sort of thing. It's not just I don't know. There's more in that. It's definitely more intertwined this time.
Yeah. More of a necessity, and more of a like, no, this is as much of a part of the program as the lifting is.
Yeah.
Not like if I get to it, it's no, this is just like, you wouldn't just, well, if I get to it, I'll do the extra set of squats. It's like, well, no, it's written in the program, so you got to do it.
Yeah. I think for me, I don't know. I noticed a little bit that I mean, it's, like you said, it's only been like a week or week and a half. I think I've had the intention to eat a little bit more, and obviously we're lifting a little bit heavier. So I think just naturally I'm kind of feeling that, like the difference of that. I feel a little bit heavier or fuller. And my strength has gone up a little bit, but yeah, it's only been a week. So
yeah,
we'll see after we get into it a little bit longer and whatnot. But yeah, it's that rep range that I'm not a huge fan of. So it's, I definitely am attached more to the results of it. Than before of like, oh, I can sit here all day, to where it's like, no, I want to see myself get bigger and I want to feel myself getting bigger.
That's one thing I love. One of my favorite things about doing programs with you is like, I really see what pushing it is. To where, especially with this heavy, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so wimpy most of the time. Like, I'm like, oh, I'll just sit at this weight. Rather than like every single set you're going up, every single, like you're really almost passing out as you're pushing the weight.
Yeah.
That I'm like, sure, I'll just put a 10 on. Like, and that's where my natural is, to where working out with you, it pushes me to like, okay, no, it's, I got to put more weight on, or like, don't wimp out on your form, or not saying that I would do that, but especially with the pushing the weight, I don't naturally lean towards that or like hype myself up enough that I think even just having you watching me and being like, no, you can keep that weight. When I'm like, oh, no, maybe put it down. You're like, no, you did that perfectly. You do not need to take down the weight. Like, you're just being a baby about it.
Sure.
I love that. And I think that's something that I loved, that my spark of starting to work out, where it came from, was like getting to see, or starting to work out with like you guys in the gym, like all of the football players, and seeing how like your focus was get stronger, get bigger, put on the weight. And then I come in there like just for the first time and go, oh, this is how you work out. Okay, well, they're saying push the weight. No, slap on some more when you're doing deadlifts. I'm like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, like the way that your guys' brains work that way, it was really cool to like, oh, okay, this is a part of lifting too, and I can push myself and it can be fine, and see the results of doing that. That sometimes it's cool to just like feel that energy again of like, oh yeah, okay, this is like masculine, go in there and fuck shit up energy, not like, I'm just gonna go through the motions.
Yeah, well, I think there's a fear of failure to get over with it too. I think there's definitely like the more feminine masculine difference of like, the guys always think they can put more weight on, and they're always going to try to, where the girls don't want to do that because they want to, they might maybe want to be seen as more feminine, or they don't want to be the ones grunting in the gym, like throwing a bunch of weight around. But I think there's a little bit of like, if you're new to weight training specifically, there's a little bit of fear of failure to get over, like you're doing deadlifts and you're afraid to like not be able to get it up, or even with like chest press or bicep or any of that kind of stuff, like there's kind of this fear of like, well, what happens if I like can't lift it up? It's like, well, then you can't lift it up. That's it.
I think it's not even the fear of like, oh, what if I can't, or looking dainty. Like, I loved when I was like, yeah, I'm doing what I think is heavy, or you also think it's heavy. Like, that is cool. I hated going to the gym with all the guys and like, oh, hand me the 10-pound dumbbells so I can do my curls. Like, I hated that. But I think it is just that fear of like feeling that weight. Like, I think we've talked about that in a previous episode of like walking up to the bar before you do deadlifts, or like feeling the weight on your back when you're doing squats and going like, I have to bend down and stand up with this weight. Yeah. I think there's just that little bit of fear of like, this is going to be really hard.
That's kind of especially when I'm doing strength stuff, like we're in this lower rep range and we're really trying to get stronger and bigger and that type of thing. Like, I always think like, okay, there's got to be at some point in this workout, at least once, where I got to be kind of fearful of how much weight this is, because I'm not pushing it then. Like, if I'm putting the weight on my back, or I'm putting it on the chest press or deadlift or something, and I'm like, shit, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or get this up. Like, I don't know. For me, it's like, I kind of need to have that moment. So I know like, okay, yep, I tested myself today. I didn't just go through the motions. I tested myself. I put this on the deadlift bar and I got to do 7 of these, and I don't know if I can get 5 of these. So we'll find out.
That's such the mental game. And we should get into the topic in a second, but it kind of flows into this. Like, the mental game of lifting is so crazy how like I don't know how big of a factor it is. Like for me with this whole lifting heavy right now, I have caught myself so many times going like, well, you can just go a little bit lighter. It's fine. Or like, oh, this exercise, you can go easier on this one because you went hard on the last one or whatever. And noticing myself going like, no, I'm going to stay with the heavy weight. Like yesterday doing front squats, I was like, I want nothing more than to take this weight off of the bar because it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel solid. It feels like my form is kind of needing to like figure it out rather than just like feeling solid. And I was like, no, because if I do this now, I'm going to get comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
With this whole phase of going stronger, that I want to beat my mental space or beat my mental game with this because I know that that's going to give me the benefits that I want. I know that it's going to get me where I want to be or physically where I want to be or put up the numbers that I want. That if you give into the, well, just this time, or like, it's like, no, you have to do it and like show up for yourself every single time and show up for the workout every single time. Because that is hard to do.
It is hard to do. And I think it is the mental game because it's even harder when you're going to the gym consistently and you still don't feel good about it. And I think it's probably because of that, because you're going to the gym and you're kind of taking the easy way out each time, each day, to where it's like, not only are you doing the thing that you should be doing of going to the gym, but you leave not feeling good about it because you didn't give your best effort and you know that. So there's definitely that part of it of like, sure, you're showing up. You've done a great job of showing up to the gym, but you got to put the effort in now to get that kind of mental win each time you leave. And that's like why I say like, if I'm doing this, I got to be kind of scared at some point, or I got to have a little bit of fear at some point of like, dang, this is going to be heavy and I don't know if I can do this. Because that to me tells me like, okay, yeah, you pushed it. You got to that limit today. You got to that test today and you overcame it. You kind of went, oh, I don't know if I should do this. And then I still walked up to the bar, tried to pick it up or successfully picked it up. And I can leave the gym or just be done with the workout going, yeah, I feel good. I feel like a success because I went after something that was hard and maybe I did fail, but hey, I tried it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into the topic. So we have two kind of combo topics, but it kind of goes into what we're talking about of just like making the most of your workout and going in there with an intention of still being productive and not letting other factors get in the way of your progress. Main one is just we all have these days where you ran out of time or you thought you're going to have an hour workout and ends up being a half hour, or just life happens that I think a lot of us would go, oh, well, there's no point. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not the hour that I had planned, so I'm not going to go. Or it's not the hour I had planned, so I can't, make the most of it. I'll just, do something that isn't as beneficial or whatever. That there are still other ways to attack that issue that can be beneficial, but also in some ways, like, I don't want to say more beneficial because it's not more beneficial, but like utilizing it to the fullest potential, not just like, well, I have a short amount of time, so it's going to be fine.
I think there's and we've talked about this a few times, the all or nothing attitude. Yes. I think definitely try to get out of that space of, well, it's either I can do my full workout or I can't do the full workout. Something like a little tip that I thought of right away was like, if you're usually in the gym for say an hour doing your program or whatever, and you get to this point where you can only do 30 minutes or maybe it's 20 minutes or whatever, my suggestion is to still go and do your program or what you would do, but just, maybe it's 4 sets of everything, go to 2 sets of everything. Sure. Still get the full body or whatever, get the variety of the exercises that you're doing, but just like half it, go 4 sets, do 2, or maybe you can only do 1 or whatever. But this all or nothing attitude, I think kind of, there can be some benefit to it, but I think majority of the time it doesn't help, because it's like, yeah, you get done with your your work day or whatever it may be, and you realize that you're not going to have a lot of time to work out, and you just kind of go, oh, I guess not today, rather than like, no, I could probably get, 5 or 6 sets done, and trying to teach or show people like that is beneficial. You are still getting a lot done, or getting that stimulus sent, and that frequency of you doing this is still going to help that ball continue to roll, so that you don't quit on yourself when these times come around. Like, no, I went and did my 5 sets, and that was all I could do today, but it is what it is, and we move on to the next day, rather than just like, oh, nope, I can't. It's over with. I'm done with it. Because that's going to snowball then too. You're going to start you're going to start not going for easier and easier reasons then.
Yes. Well, that's something that Carly even talked about when we were back home. She's like, it's always the first thing to go.
Right.
She's like, oh, the kids got picked up 5 minutes later. Guess I can't go to the gym. Or like, she's kind of like saying it extreme, but like, oh, Lonnie coughed. She must be getting sick. Guess I can't go to the gym. It's like, Why is that the first thing that we always go to like take out? Yet, if it was like, well, we should go to the movies. Like, well, we can make time for that.
Yeah.
So it's like analyzing.
Yeah,
do you actually not have time? Or are you just saying this is the hardest thing I got to do today? So I'm going to say, oh, I can't make it. I can't have it happen.
That's what I love. You'll show up to the movies 15 minutes late. But, and you'll still stay in line for popcorn and shit, and you'll show up 15 minutes late, but you won't show up 15 minutes late to the gym. Like,
yeah. But I think it's also should be seen as hopefully a specialty thing. That if you're noticing that, man, like every Thursday I get there 30 minutes late, or like my workout has to get cut short, maybe that's when you can analyze either your scheduling or like your priorities. Are you making time for your working out? But if it is just kind of what we're talking about right now, of like it happens every once in a while, maybe like once a month, you're like, just today is not my day and I got to the gym late, or I'm just slower today, whatever. Seeing it as a specialty thing. So then seeing it as, how can I utilize this to the fullest benefit in ways that I don't do on a regular basis? So I think of, finding ways to maybe practice a lift. So instead of broadening of, instead of doing a full workout, which is a great idea, I didn't even think about that, like just lowering your sets, but seeing it as, I have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to limit what I'm going to work on, and then just really narrow in on it. So isolating that time so that even though I'm only working on maybe 1 or 2 things, those 2 things each get 15 minutes of focus and full attention to it. That, taking something like a squat. Well, that's something that I definitely could spend 15 to 30 minutes on, just isolated, of like really going through my mobility, going through my, my priming exercises, going through the squats and motions, and getting a good squat session in. I mean, imagine doing squats for 30 minutes and doing like 10 sets of squats or 10 sets of deadlifts. That's going to be super, super beneficial, and probably something that you are not going to put in time for within your normal schedule. That, again, going back to the specialty, like seeing it as, I get 30 minutes to focus on something that I would not spend 30 minutes on. So in a way, you are getting a different benefit to it, rather than this is just a substitute because I can't do this. It's no, you actually get something better than, what you maybe normally do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it's maybe cheesy to say it, but like try to look at it as a opportunity of like, when are you going to just dial in on one exercise for 30 minutes type of thing? Like I like to do that occasionally just to do it. Like there's some of these major lifts that need a lot of attention and detail and focus on them. Things like squats, deadlifts, lunges. I mean, any of the major exercises, the compound exercises. I want to do it more. I haven't done it in a long time, but like you said, we used to do like a deadlift day. Yeah. It was just one day. All you had to focus on was doing deadlifts, and you did,
Those were so fun.
We did like 8 to 10 sets of deadlifts type of thing. Doing the same thing with squats, doing the same thing with lunges. Like it is tiring, it is exhausting, but kind of like what your point is of say you usually have an hour, it gets cut short. Just see it as an opportunity of like, hey, I can just focus on one thing today and get good at this skill and get better at it. Because yeah, you spend 30 minutes on trying to fix your squat or getting better at your squat. You're going to learn so much throughout that day in those 30 minutes that now the next time around you go to do squats, you've learned a whole bunch. Because sometimes we just get stuck in a rut too of like, this is my program, these are the exercises I'm doing, and I'm going to go and do them. And you go do them, and it may be great that you're getting your 4 sets of squats in, but it takes you a total of maybe 10 minutes. Like, you don't really get to dive into the exercise and really learn how to do it and the skill of it and maybe see where your ailments are and stuff like that. So I think trying to just switch your brain of like, oh, this is an opportunity for me today. I have only 30 minutes. Instead of being stressed and panicking about how I'm not going to get my workout done, let me just switch it and go, okay, maybe I can pick 1 or 2 exercises that I don't feel like I'm good at, and I can go in and, try to figure out and fix the problems with them.
Especially when like that's the only thing you're going to do today, you can kind of, I don't know, I feel like for me, when I think of, okay, I have an hour workout, I'm kind of trying to preserve my energy and balance it out between the whole workout, not just go crazy right away and then none of the other exercises or lifts that I'm doing get my full attention. That, if I just have to do this. Mm-hmm. You can focus fully in on the mobility that will go with that, the just the mindset that has to go with that, and how you prep yourself in recovery with that you can just go, I'm going to go full energy with the squats or with the deadlifts or whatever you choose to do, rather than like, well, I need to kind of save it for a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yep.
That you might go even harder than you typically do, or find new things, or push weight that you've never pushed before because you can like fully get into it.
Yeah. I think they can be super beneficial. Just seeing them as opportunities and like experimental days, Mm-hmm. Maybe you've been in a certain rep range for a month or so, and one of these days comes up and you realize like, you know what, I have not been feeling good about my deadlift. So let me go in and really work on my deadlift. Or it can be a thing to try something new. Say you don't really do sumo deadlifts. You only do conventional. And it's like, well, I've only got 30 minutes or whatever. Here's your opportunity now to like go in and just practice sumo deadlifts and really try to figure out the form and figure out, how to feel it in the right areas and play with the weights a little bit or grip position. And you can do this experiment for yourself. And then now look, you just learned a new exercise and you can add it to your arsenal. And now you're broadening your knowledge and you're broadening your experience of what you can do with this. And now you can move forward with a whole new exercise that you weren't able to really do before because you're so stuck in like, I got to do this program and it's these 4 workouts, this many sets, and yada, yada, yada. So you can, talk about maximizing like these short times or these times where you don't get a lot of time to work out. I think that's a great way to learn a new exercise. Go in with the intention of like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do a lateral lunge. I've never done them. I don't know how to do them. I'd like to be able to add them to my program. I'm going to go in and take this time to do that. You could learn that in 30 minutes. You could really, to get the comfortability to apply it.
Yeah. And if you want to learn how, we have a video on it.
Yeah, that was in our last personal training one.
But yeah, I think if you want to set aside time for your fitness and health, there is so much to learn, and everything has a benefit that nothing is a waste of time and nothing isn't enough. So if you go, well, it's worth, even take the extreme of like, I have 10 minutes. I completely miss my workout time. I don't even have time to drive to the gym. I'm going to stay home. Okay, well, you got 10 minutes. You think 10 minutes of doing mobility is better than nothing? Doing 10 minutes of stretching, doing 10 minutes researching nutrients of foods and what different kinds of recipes you could try, or watching one of our videos for 10 minutes. There are so many ways to be efficient and effective with your time that even if it isn't what you had planned, it doesn't mean that it isn't worth still taking those 10 minutes to do something, whether it's, like I said, like no matter the isolated time, you can always bring in health and your wellness within it. Even if it's sitting there and breathing and meditating and taking the time for yourself.
Yep.
Think of it as a whole, not just, well, it's not my workout, so it's nothing. No, your whole being, like what we talk about, like the physical, mental, and emotional health. Take those 10 minutes, take those 5 minutes to just, okay, this is still me time. So maybe I'm going to listen to music. Maybe I'm going to sit there and meditate. Maybe I'm going to stretch or do mobility. That is still better than nothing. Than just going, well, I guess I'll take 10 minutes and just get dinner done 10 minutes earlier. Like, still take that time for you and for your well-being and make it worth, or how to say it, like, still make it effective.
Yeah, and I think
worth the time.
A priority too. Like it's just a practice also of keeping it a priority. Mm-hmm. You know, even though you may only have 10 minutes, it's way bigger than just doing or not doing the 10 minutes. Like
it's bigger than the time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's bigger even than the benefit that you're going to get, the physical benefit you're going to get from that 10 minutes. Like you taking those 10 minutes to do that for yourself, like I said, it keeps that thing a priority. It keeps health and fitness a priority, which when you're practicing that over and over again, it continues to be a priority. You have less and less of a hard time than getting to the gym or going to the gym, or, you know, you do something over and over and over again. It becomes easier and easier to do that. Keep that ball rolling kind of thing. Keep going, because as soon as you take that one thing off, like that's one day that you didn't do it and get it done. And that can snowball into 2, into 3, into 4, into a week, into months. And now you haven't exercised for months or haven't taken that time for months. And now you have to start all over again. To where even that 10 minutes is going to continue to roll that ball down the hill.
You have to think of this whole experience of the fitness, health, wellness as you're creating behaviors. You're creating new patterns, new habits in the way that you live, and to create them into a lifestyle or to create them into just the way that you do things. That even though it's, say, maybe the 10 minutes or the 30 minutes, it is creating that behavior pattern and solidifying that behavior pattern to not only everybody around you, of like showing your family or whoever you're with, of like, this is something I'm prioritizing, but showing yourself again and showing up for yourself. It's like I said with the workout, of how many times it could have been like, no, I'm just going to lower the weight because it would be easier. It's always easier to not.
Yeah.
That even if it might be not your full idea of what you thought your workout was going to be, not letting that stand in the way of the mental shift of, I'm still showing up for myself, even if it's for 10 freaking minutes. Yeah. And I'm creating this behavior pattern. I'm keeping it alive. That is going, you might not have gotten that hour workout, but that 30 minutes that you lost out on is going to pay off for years and years and years down the road, because you're creating that behavior pattern that next week you maybe go in for an extra half hour because you know how important it is. Or you may really prioritize that next week when you're like, oh, okay, I got there late. I'm going to make sure that I adjust my schedule so that it doesn't happen again. And people don't do that unless you understand the importance of it and you make it a behavior pattern and you make the extra effort then.
I think
moving forward,
I think you got to think about more than just what is happening right now. Like, think about, years to come type of thing. How do you get to where you want to be years to come? It's by doing this 10 minutes and continuing to do it. Like, if you would add up all the times where, you know, you did this all or nothing attitude of, you know what, I'm just not going to go, or I'm just not going to do it because it's not enough time. And instead of that, you added the 30 minutes that you would have worked out, you'd probably have hours and hours and hours of exercising added to your, you know, your lifespan that not only would help physically, but would help mentally too. And like what you're talking about, the behavior pattern, you maybe wouldn't have fallen off the wagon as many times because you still went for those 30 minutes, even though it wasn't the full thing. I think it's like a test. It's a brain test. Are you going to do it even though it's only 10 minutes or not? There's a win-loss thing there. And I think it comes down to effort. Mm-hmm. It's simply just put the effort in and do the 10 minutes, because like you said, it's way easier to not do it. It's way easier to go, the cards are stacked against me, let me just not do it, than it is to go, you know what? No, I don't care that's 10 minutes. This is going to add to my total sum of what is helping me. I need to do that 10 minutes. And I think it's a lot more valuable than people really realize or give it credit for.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm good on that topic.
I'd like to go through just like some of the more specific tips of like if you are short on time with it.
Like what extra things you could do?
Well, kind of like what we were saying of like, I suggested maybe half it. Like instead of 4 sets, you could do 2. You kind of went to like maybe just
choose one.
choose one and focus on one exercise and get really good at it, which I really like that advice. I like that one because we rarely program that in, or we rarely do that of like, I'm just going to spend 30 minutes on this one thing. We would maybe go to more what I'm saying of like, well, I got to get as much done as I can. So I like that. I like that advice a little bit more. I also think if you're short on time, try to stick more to like full body exercise, your bang for your buck exercises, where you're going to get more moving parts and more things kind of firing and activating. Don't go in and like just do your bicep curls that are part of your workout. Go in and do the more difficult ones. Do the squats or the deadlifts. Because they are full body, you're going to get more benefit out of that rather than just going and doing kind of the simple ones. So I would suggest that if you have, 6 exercises, pick the 1 or 2 that you're going to get the most kind of energy expenditure from.
I'm going to also suggest if like you are not going to get to the gym, or like you can just see your day kind of dwindling away, rather than isolating, say like 30 minutes at a time, seeing as like, I'm going to take 10 minutes 3 times throughout the day. Kind of what we had brought up in one of our recent podcasts of kind of using this all day activity rather than, well, I go to the gym for an hour and that's just like, chunked in that way. Using the full day and getting little bouts of exercise that will also accumulate to more time, or maybe even that full hour like that you had planned on, because it is easier to fit in 10 minutes, 5 minutes throughout your day rather than 30 minutes all in one.
Yeah, some body weight squats or body weight lunges, or
this is a great way that bands can assist you, is if you have like a set of bands at home or in your car or at work, to just pop those babies out and, do some squats with some resistance, and it still has a benefit to it.
And I think even if you don't have bands, just do body weight stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of different creative things that you can do dips on a chair, and you can do, push-ups on the ground if you're able to, or push-ups on, with your hands on the countertop. Like you can do a lot of different things. And like we mentioned in one of the last episodes of like, you do 10 minutes and you do that 3 times throughout the day. You just did 30 minutes of exercising. And that it doesn't seem like a lot, but like you said, it accumulates.
Yeah. Another thing, like kind of like what I brought up is like your recovery stuff that we even said that we don't really see as a must. We see it as if I get to it. Mm-hmm. So using that as okay, you got to it. You have time now.
Yeah.
That you maybe don't feel like it's worth doing, the lifting stuff that we're talking about. If you really feel like you can't even drive to the gym, well, you can do mobility anywhere. You can stretch anywhere. You can focus on your mental and emotional health anywhere. So maybe dialing it into the things that you don't typically put the time in towards. Yep. Because like 10 minutes of stretching is awesome. 10 minutes of mobility is awesome.
Yeah.
So, using more of the recovery end of it, of maybe addressing some areas or issues that you don't take the time to address typically.
I think that's kind of my last point is like, you see it as an opportunity to be able to do something different. I think that would maybe give you your kind of like best mind switch of it, best mental health switch of it, of like, okay, I can't get the whole thing done. So let me just experiment and try something new. And I think you could learn a lot from it too, rather than the all or nothing attitude.
Yeah, because I think that is something for I mean, this is more of a niche group of people, but you're going to waste, I think, for people like us, like you could waste so much time just being pissed about the fact that you're not going to get your full workout in, that you just wasted 30 minutes being pissed about it, rather than going, okay, we're going to pivot. We don't have time for a full workout, but we know that we can still make this worth those 30 minutes and still make it beneficial and not a complete, shit day and just spiral on that.
Yeah.
Next topic is kind of, well, maybe explain it more. The title is going to sound kind of jacked up, but like why variety in your workouts can be good, and also when it can be bad, or how we see it being done in a non-beneficial way.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you see extremes of both, where it's like somebody either has way too much variety or they have not enough variety. And I think the first thing that comes to mind for me with it is like, if you have too much variety, you're never able to practice the things, like the same exercises over and over again, and actually get better at them. That's part of like why you get stronger at certain lifts, or why you just get better at the lifts. Maybe technically, like your form is better, is by practicing that same thing. So if you're doing chest press, you want to do that once or maybe twice a week to continue to get better at it. If you have so much variety where you're only doing chest press like once every 3 months, you're not able to ever get better at that thing. That's how you get better at things, as you practice them and you do them frequently. So I think that's kind of why variety can be bad, is like you don't practice the things and get good at them, and then you kind of go, well, why isn't my bench press getting better? It's like, well, because you only do it, occasionally instead of frequently.
Yeah, that's something that I had no issue with working out starting, because that's how dance is. It's like, you start, you're doing the same stuff when you started when you were 3 years old to present day. Like, there is just something about the foundation and the classic exercises or movements that, like, a plie is a plie till you die. Like, you learn that when you're 3 and you never stop doing that. You never stop perfecting it, and you will never be perfect at it. Same thing with, any major lift of squats, deadlifts, bench press, a curl. Like, when you just narrow it down to the simplified form of that exercise, you can always get better at it. You can always tweak things about it, and your even your approach to it can change. That I think, when we stray away from that, we forget about back to the foundation, back to the classics, back to, you could keep those same exercises and just program them differently, adding in different elements or factors, like we recently talked about, of like, you can change your tempo, you can change your weight, you can change your rep ranges, you can change how you do it, but a chest press is still going to be a chest press.
Yeah.
That finding new ways in that way to alter your workouts, maybe not so much the exercises specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's not really think about either, is we do the variety of exercises topic or thought, and we kind of forget about the variety of, just changing the exercise itself a little bit. Like with the chest press, like changing the tempo, or changing the sets and the reps, or even just changing like the intention of it. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to focus on really squeezing my chest and doing that. And then the next set I'll go, okay, now I'm going to really focus on trying to use as much tricep as I can, just to manipulate and practice and work on those things, because that's a huge part of bodybuilding, or just this resistance training thing in general, is like being as connected to your body and your muscles as possible. So when I'm doing calf raises, I am thinking about flexing my calves to lift me up, not just throwing my body up kind of thing. That's one, I think shrugs is like the biggest example of that, of people will just like raise their shoulders up, where it's like, no, you want to think about lifting from your traps.
Sure.
Not just lift my shoulders up to my ears. Like, I'm lifting with the muscles that is supposed to be doing this exercise I'm trying to work on. I think people could think about that more, I guess, is that I'm not just doing chest press. I'm thinking about using my chest and my triceps to push this up off, not just throw my hands forward.
That's why I think I like lifting a lot is I like perfecting the skills of things that there's always room for growth. That's why dance connects to me so much is like everything is so intricate and you have to be aware of all of those intricacies at once to be able to perform the movement correctly. That, like you brought up the calf raises. It's like not only are you just thinking about lifting your heels, but you're thinking about articulating through your feet and where is the weight being placed within what toes and the pad of my the ball of my foot, that like where is the weight being placed as I go up? Am I fully extending into that releve that, like I'm getting the highest like range of motion, even though your range of motion might be a couple inches, that reaching that peak of range of motion. And then even when you're there, like what's the rest of my body doing? Like, are my legs straight? Am I noticing that I'm squeezing up through my calves, or am I using kind of my quads and bending it? And even again, how am I holding the weight? Am I, holding my posture and the structure of my spine is good? Like all of that is in one rep of a calf raise,
right? Not
just like you said, throwing your body up,
right?
That you can see every exercise that way of there are so many things going on. There is not a single exercise I feel like you even said, calf raises or shrugs, you would think are very simple and hard to do wrong. No, they're very easy to do wrong. All exercises are easy to do wrong. But if you can pay attention to the intricacies of it, there are so many ways to manipulate it and stay on track and keep checking yourself that it is just like there's so much to worry about. Now you're going to make up exercises or like do different ones. Like figure this one out first, because this is your bang for your buck exercise. That kind of like there's still work to be done.
I think that's another negative to having a lot of variety or too much variety is like sometimes you're doing stuff that's not really the most beneficial for you. You've maybe seen somebody else doing an exercise, or you've kind of come up with one on your own, or whatever it may be, that it's maybe not as beneficial, or it's just kind of the same thing, but you've contorted your body in a weird way and are doing it now. Like,
sure.
That to me would be another negative of variety, is like what you're saying, what we're both saying, of these lifts and these exercises are so intricate and you can always get better and better at them. To where for me, I think that's what your focus should be, is each rep I'm trying to perfect. I'm trying to have the perfect rep every single rep. That like you take something like chest press, you could do that for a really long time and you're still going to be trying to get better and better at it, especially because you start putting more weight on it when you do get better at it. So now it's like the same thing over again. You're trying to get good at this exercise with a little bit more weight. So that to me would be another negative of variety, is you get kind of away from these exercises. You get away from perfecting exercises. You start to become like the jack of all trades type of thing. Well, I can do all of the exercises, but you're not good at any of them.
Sure. Well, and I don't know. I think that's just like a weird, a myth. I think that, because like when I start working out, and I'm working out with, the guys that we went to school with, and they're like, every workout needs to be different. Like, you gotta mix it up so that you can switch up your stimulus, and you're, shocking the body with different things, and be like, every workout needs to be different. And it's like, not only does every workout not need to be different or be the same, but like, even depending on your goal, the lifts can be the same. The workouts can look the same, because you have so many different factors that you can adjust before it's the exercise. That's something I love about like our program specifically, is you can see them written out of each program has a different goal and intention, yet the exercises within the program, besides a few added things or, specified things, they look the same. They just have a different intention in how you do them, how you program them, what order you're doing them in, what rep range, what tempo you're doing that, what weight you're pushing. That is where you're going to kind of send the different signal or shock the body in different ways. It's not well, I'm going to do a bicep curl, but like you said, I'm going to face away from it and do it like this.
Yeah.
It's like I know I just went into all the, like, they're so intricate and there's so many different ways to do it, but simple
yeah,
is better.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, you could do, the major compound lifts, and you could be a healthy person. If you went in and did those every day, you just practice getting better and better at those, like, you're going to probably be healthy, and you're going to be fit and active and whatever. Obviously there's a lot more that goes into it, of like diet and all that type of stuff, but like you could do the same thing for 40 years and still be pretty fit. But that kind of leads me to the other end of the spectrum of like why variety is good. Is we talk about all the time of your body's an adaptive machine. If you're sending the same thing over and over again, your body's just going to get complacent because it knows, well, this is what we do. And your body will start to form a structure around what you're doing, and then it'll just stay that way. So if you are looking for aesthetic goals, you're looking to, look a different or a certain way, doing the same things over and over and over again and never switching it up is going to be a detriment to you, because your body's formed around what you're doing. In order to change that, you got to change what you're doing. Which then you might ask, like, okay, maybe I'm at the aesthetic goal that I want to be. I'm how I want to look for the rest of my life. Why do I need to change it up? And that's because if you don't have variety, like, you may start to have ailments. Then you're repeating the same. I don't want to say damage, but you're repeating the same.
Just movement patterns
over and over and over again. Without potentially like doing any mobility or lengthening, stretching, doing different movement patterns, you're just kind of repeating the same thing over and over again. That's where injury can occur. And that's where, like, that's what happens a lot of the time in sports or in NFL, is these injuries aren't because of like damage. Somebody gets hit and it hurts and it breaks or whatever. A lot of the times it's because of overuse. It's because they've done the same things over and over again for how many years, or even just how many months at a very intense level, that like all of a sudden your Achilles just pops and goes because you've done the same movement pattern over and over and over again, that you've actually kind of wore it down and deteriorated it, that it just goes to where that can be kind of the same thing you're doing if you're not adding variety to your exercises or to your workouts, is you're really just beating it down. Rather than like, okay, I'm going to do this rep range for a little while, and then I'm going to switch to this. Because kind of like what you said, one of the last podcasts is you do heavy weight, all of a sudden my joints start to hurt. Well, there's a good sign of, okay, I need to switch up and do something else. Now you've kind of dialed it down to, I need to change up my rep range, to where it might be other things of like, you're doing squats every single day. All of a sudden my knees hurt. It's like, well, maybe you just need to not do squats for a little while, because you've gotten to this point where now it's irritation and it's inflammation in the knees and all this type of stuff. You need to switch it up and do something. Maybe go to lunges, or like a step back lunge or a lateral lunge. Do something else to give yourself a different movement pattern and to strengthen in areas that you may not be strong in.
Well, and that's another reminder too of, like I said, beating it into the ground, but beating this topic into the ground of, there are already so many other factors that you can adjust rather than the exercise itself. But then continuing with the exercise of, there are different ways to do the exercise that are still the classics. Like, you can do a squat, but maybe adjust your stance. Like, I typically go very narrow, where I'm going to get a benefit if I just go a little bit wider out and turn my feet out, because then that's going to activate, maybe a little bit different of areas, or I can see, oh, I'm not as good in this area, so I need to work on mobility for this area that I wasn't aware of before. Or doing lunges and just focusing on what foot am I pressing off of? Am I using a little more of my quads? Am I using more of my hamstrings? Like, there are ways to manipulate the exercise of, you're still doing the basic exercise, you're still doing the classics, like I like to say.
Yeah.
But you are sending a different signal, which is then your variety and where that can be beneficial, and bringing in something that you don't typically do without making up exercises. It's like there's enough variety already.
Yeah, there really is. And I think we're kind of at a point now where, yeah, it's hard to find new exercises that are as beneficial or are even needed. Like that's what's kind of funny is like we're kind of at this
we
point.
got them all.
Yeah, it's kind of this point in fitness industry where it's like we have pretty much everything we need, and we're learning more and more stuff. Knees over toes guy, like that type of mobility stuff is okay and it's good for you. So we're learning more of that type of stuff.
Knees over toes, is that like his handle?
I think, yeah.
Oh, knees. Oh, okay. I thought.
You thought I was just like, that's what I named him?
Yeah, like knees over toe guy. Okay, knees over toe guy.
But we're kind of good with like the exercises, and I think we tend to overthink that part of it. Of well, they say variety is good, so yeah, let me do this bicep curl upside down and whatever. It's like, no, there's enough different bicep curls. It's just don't program it the same every time. Don't go in and do 5 reps of this thing every single time you go in and do it. Like switch it up and do 15, or maybe it is like you never do hammer curls, so now you're just going to grab it and do hammer curls. Like there's a lot of variety in these exercises already. You just need to expand and do them, but kind of like what you're talking about of you still need to do the classic. Like you want your biceps to get stronger or bigger, you do curls. It doesn't matter what type of curl necessarily, you do curls. You want to get your legs stronger, you do squats. Like it's a pretty simple equation in that sense. But where variety can help is a big thing of what we talked about in I think the last episode is breaking through plateaus. Like if you're at a aesthetic place or a strength place, and you can't get past it, adding more variety to your exercises is what could help, because you clearly have some weaknesses in some areas. Maybe my legs, I'm really good with forward and back, or I'm good at, like for me specifically, my quads suck, and my quads are what is not helping my squats. The reason I can't get stronger at my squats is not because of my hamstrings or my glutes. Those are very strong. It's my quads. So I need to go in and do more quad exercises so then I can come back to the squats and make that exercise, be able to put more weight on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think all in all, the theme of this whole podcast, whether it was talking about the variety or not doing a variety or the, shortened workout, is there are so many ways to make, difference beneficial, and there's something awesome about just the keeping it very, very simple and isolating things, or like there are so many ways that if you're feeling bored or you need to mix it up, don't feel like you have to go extreme. Just maybe just do it a little bit differently, or focus on things that you typically don't focus on, and hopefully that gets you feeling like you don't need to go crazy mixing it up. And you see the benefit of doing that.
Yeah. And I think take the pressure off,
Yeah.
It's okay that you didn't get the full workout done. Yeah. Today's not the only day of existence. Like you'll get back on track. And
or if you feel like I'm doing the same workout over and over again, just see it as like, I'm getting really good at this.
Yeah.
I'm practicing this thing. And if you see it as that, if you see lifting as practicing, you probably wouldn't have this fear of, oh, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Just like a skill. If you practice golf every single day and practice your swing, you would see that as, I'm practicing my swing, and that's a good thing. Same way as I'm practicing my squat. So the more I do that and the more consistently I do that, I'm getting better at that skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like, well, I need to switch up my golf swing. No.
Right. Exactly. All right. I think that's good for me.
Cool.
Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow our Facebook page no, that's not a thing. Follow our Facebook page, The Hub Fitness, our Instagram at @thehub_fitness. Email us at thehub.fitcrew@gmail.com. Thank you for watching. See you next time.